Welcome back to the Empower365 Podcast. This show is for builders, people who are actually in the arena, entrepreneurs, operators, investors, people making real decisions with real consequences. Every episode, we sit down with leaders who are building companies, navigating risk, and executing in industries that are evolving fast. Today's guest is someone who has spent more than 16 years doing exactly that in renewable energy space. Brad Stutzman is the CEO of O3 Energy, a company that develops and builds large-scale commercial solar projects across Texas and other parts of the region. And what I respect about Brad is that he talks about it as a business capital allocation, risk management, execution. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ty.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, man. I love it. Before we dive into the industry itself, let's start with your path, Brad. You've been in renewable energy for more than a decade and a half, which is an industry is basically early adopter. What originally pulled you into the solar space? What opportunity, curiosity did you see that this market was going?
Yeah, so I actually got into the industry through the finance side of things. In 2007, 2008, I had a company that we focused on the financing of construction and development projects, mainly on the real estate side of things. And in 2009 was whenever the Great Recession hit Texas. So there was no banks, no lenders, no one financing real estate construction or development at the time. All the developers that we were working with started, trying to figure out what to do with the big tracts of land that they had, how to bring in revenue. Me and my business partner at the time, we started looking at different options, and Obama came out with the American Recovery Act, which had a lot of incentives for renewable energy in it. And so we started working with a lot of these developers, and they were asking about it. And, hey, can we do a wind project on this land? Can we do a solar project on this land? So we basically figured out how to put together the financing for those projects and started working with those developers on pivoting from real estate to renewable energy. And that's how I dipped my toe and got into the industry. Over time, continued to learn the industry, learned how to develop projects on my own, and ended up starting O3 Energy to focus on the development, construction, and operation of renewable energy projects, mainly solar and batteries.
Interesting. So when Obama came out with that program, was that like the light bulb go off right there saying, hey, we may have something here? Was
Yeah,
that like the moment?
Yeah, because at the time, what they had done was, the tax credit was already in play, but they gave the option for the tax credit to be taken as a grant instead. So rather than having to go get tax equity investors, you could put the project into, place it in service, and then you would receive the grant. So it took a level of complexity out of the overall projects, which made it easier for individuals to develop and install projects at the time.
Interesting. So this isn't just a niche industry anymore. This is going to become a major part of our economy, specifically moving forward with all these power grids and data centers. You've used the term or phrase the solar coaster. And I love that phrase because it describes a lot of industries that entrepreneurs operate in. Big swings, policy changes, capital markets moving around. For people outside the industry, what does that actually mean?
So our industry is heavily driven by government policy and government regulations, also by tax as well, since we have tax credits involved. So because of that, every cycle, every change in Congress, every change in the president, it always affects our industry heavily, which I'm sure it does for a lot of other industries as well. Last over this past year, we've had to deal with, the tariffs, which have hit our industry fairly hard because a lot of our materials are imported from other countries. The tax credit went away for residential, which impacted the overall financing structure for those projects, and it got extended for batteries. So it's just really weird. Every year or two, we're having to kind of pivot on our business model a little bit. And so, there's those ups and those downs. That's what the solar coaster is.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Let's talk about like tariffs for a second. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with some difficult times, but how is that affecting your supply chain? Like, you don't even know what the playing field is
Right.
because,
Yeah, there
like,
just
what
needs to
you're
be some
budgeting for today, 6 months from now, it could be up or down.
yeah, there just needs to be some consistency with the policy so that companies can plan accordingly. That's the biggest thing. If he wants to put tariffs on it, let him put tariffs on it, but let's quit changing it every other week, every other month. I just had a conversation with one of my friends that's in another industry. He's in the eyeglass industry, and he's having the same issue with bringing in eyeglasses from overseas.
I bet, man. I know a lady that's like in the makeup industry
Mhm.
and all that comes from China. Like,
Right.
it's tripled. Like, she's having a hard time, like, staying in business.
Yeah, he said
So
he just
yeah,
brought in a container and, the shipping on the container of glasses was 9,000 and his tariff was 12,000 on the container of glasses. So,
that's insane, man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
speaking of these hard times, what's been the hardest stretch for you in the
O over
solar
the past
business?
16 years, what's been the hardest,
Yeah,
like, stretch?
yeah.
I don't know what I would consider the hardest. There's been
Was it like a policy change or just like the financial markets or, I know supply chain is goofy right now.
right. No, I
Like,
mean, it's
what
always
tested your leadership? Like,
yeah,
what
so it's
tested your
always
core?
I would say 2 years ago, whenever interest rates started shooting up, we had a residential side to the business, and the numbers just didn't make sense here in Texas from a financing standpoint. The interest rates were so high that the numbers just made it very difficult to show a customer on the residential side a good benefit to going solar or converting to solar. So we ended up closing down our residential side of the business. So that would probably be one of the toughest stretches. That was about 2 years ago.
Interesting. So, entrepreneurs listening to this conversation that want to build companies in their own industries, all these industries have cycles, right? From your
Right.
perspective, what separates companies that survive in cycles from ones that disappear?
Yeah, I would say just always be evolving. You can never just sit there and expect tomorrow to be the same as today. Everything's going to be changing no matter what industry you're in. Technology comes around and changes the game. Policies come around and change the game. Other industries have changes that change the games.
For sure. For sure. Technology is changing. Listen, I really appreciate your time, man, and your patience in this one. It's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you.